I'm Cleveland Johnson, and I'm part of the Foam Finger Makers, and we're here to talk about the Budweiser Exploratory data analysis. Today we're going to talk about the questions that you asked us and some questions that we asked ourselves that we're going to answer with the data that you had provided. As you can see, when we looked at the brewery distribution within the U.S., there were a couple heavy concentrations of breweries: Colorado, Texas, and then the West Coast and the Midwest. When we were looking at this data, we did realize that there were some fields that were pertinent to our analysis in the questions we're about to talk about, and they had missing values. Those fields were ABV, IBU, and style. We removed approximately 1,000 observations, and ultimately we had 1,400 observations remaining, which is adequate for the analysis we're trying to perform. When we looked at the median ABV by each state, there wasn't a significant differentiation, but you can see here that we did a heat map and did the states alphabetically. We found that the highest ABV beer came out of Kentucky and was produced by Against Grain Brewery and was called London Balling and was a 12.5% beer. As we looked in the IBU for each state, there were a couple differentiations, but you can see the heat map helps call them out very clearly. Once again, the states are alphabetical so that you can compare between your handout on the last slide and this slide. For the most bitter beer, we found it came out of Oregon from Astoria Brewing Company, and it is an impure IPA with an IBU of 138. When we looked at the distribution of alcohol by volume and the summary statistics for ABV, we found that for the most part it's a normal curve with a right skew. We also found that it had a low spread, and the mean of all beers is around 6%. When we looked at the relationship between alcohol content and bitterness, what we found was that there appears to be a positive linear relationship between alcohol and bitterness. As you can see, that as the ABV increases, the IBU increases as well. When we went to look to see if we can identify an IPA with our next nearest neighbor model, we found that we could actually accurately identify it at a 74% accuracy rate. We also found that there's a sensitivity of 76% and a specificity of 88%. These are all within the industry benchmark, and we can now leverage it to identify whatever beer you make, whether it would be classified as an IPA or not. We then looked into the consumption per capita data from the National Institute of Health and found there are 10 markets that we recommend that you release your beer in. And as we analyzed those markets, we found that there was a cluster in New England, with New Hampshire being the top state of beer consumption per capita, and Maine and Vermont not far behind. So we recommend that the test market for your new IPA should be in New England. In summary, we found that there's high competition for breweries within Colorado, California, Oregon, and Michigan. The average of all beers has an ABV of 6% and IBU of a little greater than 30. The most alcoholic beer is out of Kentucky. The most bitter beer is out of Oregon. We found that the ABV distribution is normal with right skew. We saw a positive correlation between ABV and IBU. We found that our next nearest neighbor model was able to identify IPAs, and we believe that New England is the place to test that new IPA. Thank you very much and have a great day.